And we said that the rabbis, have made different fences to protect the community, that they couldn't, that they shouldn't violate certain things, certain violate the Torah. The rabbis were given the responsibility to protect the Torah, to make fences. And we said that certain fences, just like mukseh, we said if you have a shofar, let's say the wall of the house, there was a shofar on the, you kept the shofar on the wall, shelf on the wall, and the wall fell down, and it's rubble, all the stones are around, covering up the shofar, and moving stones on Shabbat in a normal fashion would be a problem of mukseh, the stones are mukseh. So we said that you can't uncover, you can't move the stones. Siyag, exactly. And therefore, it shows you how the strength of the rabbis, even though you're going to miss out the biblical mitzvah of blowing the shofar, but it's still the right thing to do is not to violate the rabbinic law of mukseh. So that's what the Mishnah stated. The Mishnah also stated, Lo olin be'ilan, lo rochvin al gabe behema. Let's say you had a shofar, and the shofar was on top of, you had the tree, top of the tree, you had a little tree house where you kept, or the children, they took the shofar and they brought it up to the tree house. And now it's Rosh Hashana, and they got to get the shofar down to the tree, but you can't go up, you can't climb a tree on Shabbat, you can't climb a tree on Rosh Hashanah. What's the concern? Maybe you're going to come to detach a fruit from the tree or a branch from the tree, and that's why you don't climb a tree. But or else if it's a pole, that's not a tree. Technically, it shouldn't be a problem for climbing. So the Gemara says, Hashtat, when the last, on the right side, 32b5. Hashtat Rabbanan Amrit Lo, the right to Mibaya. So what does that mean? So Rashi says, removing the stones, or the prohibition of Techumim, leaving the city boundaries. There's certain laws that when you leave a city, if the city and there's no houses in over a certain area, so that means you've left the city, and you cannot travel more than a certain amount of distance on Shabbat or Yom Tov outside the city limits. Now, let's say that's a rabbinic law. Now, the way Rashi understands it, and the rabbinic law, and also the mukseh again is also, we said, a rabbinic law. So Hasha de Rabbanan Omrit Lo. Now, this rabbinic law of mukseh, of the stones, is not, there's no major concern. If you move the stone, one of the things we want you not to handle certain things on Shabbat, right? And we don't see in front of us you're protecting something, right? The rabbis want the Shabbat to be, let's say, a day of rest. Shouldn't be involved in the whole day of just handling stuff. You're not going to be resting if you'll be handling everything. There is also the idea of mukseh. If you'll handle everything, you might come to carry on Shabbat. You might come to carry. Thank you very much. You might come to carry on Shabbat if you'll be able to handle everything. There's different reasons why the rabbis enacted the law of mukseh. But we don't see in front of us, let's say, if you go ahead and you handle the stone, if you would move the stone, we don't see so much or if you walk outside the city limits on Shabbat, we don't see the protection of the biblical law that's happening as in that prohibition. In climbing a tree, where we see openly we see the biblical defense is right in front of us. The fence is because if you climb that tree, there's a chance, there's an open chance you might come to tear a fruit off. So that's a fence that's protecting a biblical law. A fence, but a rabbinic law, which is not necessary, which is not where the fence is not openly apparent, right? What's the reason why you shouldn't walk outside the boundaries on Shabbat? Why shouldn't it? What's probably that the day of Shabbat should not be a day of just, I'll spend the whole day walking. Morning, Adam. If I'll spend the whole day of Shabbat walking, I'm not going to be really taking in the Shabbat. It's not going to be really a day of rest. It's like Naval B'Shut Torah in a certain sense. It's like I found like a legal loophole. Rabbi, what am I doing? I am not violating the Shabbat. I am just walking. You're spending the whole Shabbat walking. And Rabbi, what am I doing? I'm just handling everything. I'm not doing work, but so it's more like just like the rabbi said, the clothing on Shabbat is different than the clothing of weekdays. You give a certain respect to the Shabbat. You don't wear your weekday clothing on Shabbat. You change your clothing, even though Adam might be wearing a beautiful suit to work, but he changes his suit on Friday morning, Simon. You change your suit in honor of Shabbat, even though you're dressed you just had a beautiful big meeting, but you still change your suit. There's certain things that you do in honor of the Shabbat. That's the rabbinic law. That might not necessarily be a fence for protecting a biblical law, but it's just a certain level of call it an honor of Shabbat. You go ahead and you change your clothing. You go ahead and your walk on Shabbat is different than you walk a little bit more relaxed walk. You don't walk the same hustle and bustle on Shabbat, right, Simon? Your walking is different. You're taking it a little easy. What? I have the whole day, but you're showing honor. Today's a different day. So your walk is different. Your clothing is different. If you want to send to the group, Adam, that one, your walk is different. Your clothing, your speech is different. You don't talk business on Shabbat, right? Is it necessarily because you're going to talk business? Are you necessarily protecting because you might do business, or more? It's just maybe it's more of a rabbinic law of showing honor for the Shabbat. You don't talk business on Shabbat. It's different. It's a different day. So I would say from the Gemara, it seems it's interesting because the Gemara does not call the walking out of the city limits over let's say close to 4,000 feet morning as a protection for a biblical law. It's more of a rabbinic law. Most probably that you should just give more honor for the Shabbat should not be just spent just walking. And even mukseh, which is interesting, removing the stones, that the Gemara does not call that a direct fence protecting a biblical law. Because what happens when I move the stone? What's my concern? Am I going to, is the concern that I might come to, now, according to one opinion, moving the stone, maybe mukseh, if you handle everything, might come to carry. Maybe it's probably moving stones. We're not going to afraid you're going to carry those stones out from private to public. It's not the biblical defense to protect the biblical law. We don't see so much defense of a biblical law by restricting you from moving the stones. And nevertheless, you can't move the stones, Adam. If your chauffeurs the wall fell down and it's underneath the rubble, you can't move the stones in order to get the shofar, to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashana. So if the rabbis kept their rabbinic law, even when the rabbinic law is not protecting a biblical law, so certainly we're going up a tree on Yom Tov, which there's a concern you might come to pluck a fruit, which is a biblical prohibition in Shabbat to take a fruit off a tree. So therefore, certainly the rabbis their enactment would be there. So the Gemara's question is, what's the necessity for the Mishnah stating the latter case? Once you said the first law, so the next law should be obvious. That's the Gemara's question. Hashta derabanan amrid lo. If you said you cannot violate a rabbinic law that's not actually directly protecting a biblical law, you cannot violate that on Rosh Hashanah in order to get the shofar. So d'oraita mibaya, a rabbinic law that's actually protecting directly a Torah law, which is going up a tree, certainly you cannot do. So the Gemara answers, Zu ve'ein sarach lo mazu katani. It means I'm telling you this law, and I don't need to tell you the other law. Meaning to say, it's like sometimes you tell somebody, by the way, I want to tell you that this you can't do on Rosh Hashanah. And certainly, I don't need to tell you the other thing. That's what the Mishnah is stating. Good morning, Ralph.
Good morning, Rabbi.
I'm saying that the Mishnah is stating, sometimes the Mishnah might say, I want to tell you the chidush. I want to tell you the novelty. You can't even move stones but certainly you can't go off the tree. What? Right, the Bible goes a tree, exactly. So that's what the Gemara says. Okay. So now we're at the bottom of the page. Now we're turning the page. We're on 33, 33A. We want to welcome Nathan. Good morning, Nathan.
Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. Yes, wherever you are, good afternoon to you as well.
Eretz HaKodesh.
Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land. Yeah. Just want to say, we're thinking regarding the siyum from Masechta Sukkah. We just want to start speaking to some of the people. Nathan is on Zoom. Asaf is here. We're thinking, Gadi, someone has your site on Tuesday. As you know, Thanksgiving comes out on a Thursday. So 2 days before, on that Tuesday, the 26th, someone has your site, and we wanted to know if we can make the siyum of Masechta Sukkah on the 26th of November, which is a Tuesday. That's the actual yard site. So we want to know if that would work for everybody. Tuesday night, and we have to see if it works for the shul. We'll see if the shul's available. I'm available. I want to know if the people are available. It's Tuesday. Anybody? Is Tuesday a good day? Tuesday night of the week of Thanksgiving. So far it looks like everybody sounds like it's good. We just have to
Will it be on Zoom?
Do it here in the shul, because we have to just see what the availability and the calendar.
Will it be on Zoom?
Say that again, Nathan.
With Ralph. Will it be on Zoom?
We can have it. We can have it on Zoom. Yes, we can have it set up. Yes. Okay. So it looks like you might not be here, Ralph. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Unless we'll fly you in, Ralph.
I don't need to be flown in. I can take a bus.
Okay. The Ein Chotchen also. So now, just to bring everybody up to date, we're now on 33A. It says the Ein Chotchen Oto. If, let's say, you need a shofar, and let's say you did not prepare the shofar before Rosh Hashanah, you didn't take it off the animal before Rosh Hashanah, or let's say you did take the shofar off the animal before Rosh Hashanah, but you didn't fix the shofar that it should be able to be used as a shofar, and now it's Rosh Hashanah. So what do? You have the biblical mitzvah of shofar, but the shofar is not ready. Either it's still attached to the animal, or even if it's not attached to the animal, but you have work to do to make it into a utensil, and making it a usable utensil, making it into a shofar, an instrument, would be a violation, a biblical violation of creating a utensil on Shabbat or on Yom Tov. So you hear the situation and stuff. The guy is stuck. What he's supposed to do? So the Mishnah states you cannot prepare that shofar on Rosh Hashanah if you did not prepare it, if you did not make it ready before Rosh Hashanah to use. You can't. And the Mishnah stated ve'ein chotren oto, you cannot cut the shofar bein b'davar hu mishum shvut, whether you're doing it in a way that you're violating a rabbinic law in the preparation of the shofar, or bein b'davar hu mishum lo taseh, or whether you're preparing the shofar in a way that you're violating Torah law. Now, so the Gemara is going to ask, what's the situation that when is the case where it's Torah law, and when is the case that it's rabbinic law? We want to just say we welcome Mark. Mark is back. We see him on the screen.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning. He's on the way. We're very happy to see him. Morning. So the Gemara, by the way, Mark, Jaime was on yesterday. I forgot to tell you. Okay. The Ein Chotan also, you cannot cut the shofar to size on Rosh Hashanah. So the Gemara says, Mishum Shvut, where would be the case that you are violating rabbinic law in the cutting of the shofar? Is Magala. Magala, we usually translate that like a sickle. Is if you use a sickle to cut the shofar, to cut out the shofar to make it, but that's not the normal way to cut a shofar using a sickle. Your sickle is usually used in the field. And when you go ahead and you fix the shofar using a sickle, that's not the normal way. And then not the normal way would be a rabbinic prohibition of fixing something not in the normal way. And still, the Mishnah states you cannot do that on Rosh Hashanah, even though you have no other shofar. I got no other shofar. Cannot violate the rabbinic law. And what's the case of lo taseh? Lo taseh if you use a knife. A knife is a normal type of instrument to use to cut out, either to cut the shofar from the head of the animal, or even if it was already detached before the holiday, but to cut out the parts of the shofar to make it usable for, to make it proper, be able to blow properly, usually use a knife. And that would be a biblical prohibition of making a utensil on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Tov. So that's what the Mishnah states. So the Gemara asks the obvious question: if you tell me that we do not push aside a rabbinic prohibition in order to enable you to blow the shofar, we do not allow you to do it in an unusual manner. We don't allow you to use a sickle to make the shofar, David, a proper instrument. Certainly you can't use a knife, because a knife would be a normal way of preparing a shofar, and that would be a biblical prohibition. So that's the Gemara's question. Again, the Mishnah does not tell us extra things. If you can figure out B from A, I don't have to tell you B. Just tell me A and I got B. If you tell me A and B, usually there has to be some reason why you're telling me both. So that's the Gemara's question. If you told me that we don't relax, we don't push to the side, a rabbinic prohibition, so certainly we don't push to a side a what? A biblical prohibition, right? So we just said that preparing a shofar, sometimes you could be violating a rabbinic if you do it not in a normal way. But if you can't even do it not in the normal way, you certainly can't do it in the normal way. So the Gemara says the same thing that the Gemara said earlier, which is a good answer. It makes the answer better when multiple times the Mishnah is using a certain style. The Tana of the Mishnah is talking a certain style by saying, you know what? I'm going to tell you that you can't even do this, and certainly you can't even do that. So therefore, the second time the Mishnah says that you can't even violate rabbinic law to enable you to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And I don't need to tell you, you can't violate biblical law. You can't go ahead and use a normal instrument to create the situation for you to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah if it's a violation of Torah law. Certainly, I don't have to tell you that. That's a zu, this case, and the ein tzarich loma zu. I don't need to tell you the following. Okay, but the Mishnah does say, if you want to put water in the shofar, you want to clean the shofar, the water or the wine will make a better sound by rinsing it with the water or the wine. We got to talk to some of the shofar people, see what if they use this. But if you go ahead and you want to use water or wine, yitain, you're allowed to go ahead and use it as a cleansing agent. So the Gemara says it seems that in those times, urine was used as a cleansing agent for certain things. So the Gemara says, but clearly of a meiraglayim, just like we have a lot of certain types of cleaning things, it's not pretty. Those Mr. Clean, right? Has a nice smell or whatever it is. A lot of those maybe, and that's today when they made Mr. Clean, it's nice as there's a lot of detergents that are, they're not pretty, so to speak. They're not so
abrasive.
What'd you say?
They're abrasive.
Right. So the Gemara says, so meiraglayim, even though urine does a good job cleaning, you cannot use urine. But the Mishnah clearly does not allow urine, which maybe would have been a better cleansing agent. So the Gemara, as Simon says from there, kavod, because you can't. It's not respectful. It's not respectful for the for the item, for the mitzvah, even though it's not all about the bottom line. It's how you do it. It's not all about I made the shofar clean, but if you did it in a way which is not respectful, that we don't allow you. You have to have a certain way of respect where you handle the shofar. Lo, you cannot use urine. Nami. And the Gemara says, who is the Tan of the Mishnah? Who is the Tan of the Mishnah that says that you're allowed to go ahead and use water or wine, even though it might improve the sound? And the reason seems to be, one of the commentators say that that's not, we don't look at that, since there is a sound, proper sound, even without the water and the water or the wine. So that's not, we don't look at that you fix the shofar, because the shofar is
Don't we have it every morning? Don't we have it every morning in Pitoma Ketoret that
Yes.
Me'reglayim is suitable but is not honorable?
Yes, exactly what Nathan says, that it says by the Pitoma Ketoret, that it says you don't put in, to make the spices, the 11 different spices, you don't put in the urine, because of Mnei HaKavod. Also, like Nathan says, if you look at the language that we says in the Pitoma Ketoret, it says over there also, even though the Gemara, you don't bring urine into the Beit HaMikdash b'bnei HaKavod. It says because it says it's talking about it says yin kafitin lamuba. It says we use something to soak something in, and we don't use the urine to soak something, because it's not respectable to bring urine into the Beit HaMikdash. So the Gemara says the following. The Gemara says, who's the Tana? The Tanya. Abba Shol Omer, Mayim or Yayin Mutar. He says, water or wine, it's mutar, it's permitted to put it in the shofar on Yom Tov. Maybe I'm going to get a sitter, 1 second. Just a little bit more about the Pitoma Ketoret. Just let's see this for a second. It says, oh, this is a different another sitter it looked like it was a French sitter. So it says like this. For the Pitoma Ketoret, it says Cyprus, we say Yin Kafisin. Cyprus wine is used to soak the siporen, to make it pungent. But even though urine is suitable to soak that thing, it's very good for it. But we don't bring urine into the courtyard of the Beit HaMikdash out of respect. That's what it says over there. That's what it says about you don't bring urine there. So, and Nathan said, and so for here the Gemara says you can't even bring urine to wash the shofar. So the Gemara says, Tanya Abba Sholomer, Mayim or Yayin Muta. You could go ahead and use water or wine. You want to go ahead and clean it, make it smooth, so the sound should be clear. That's what the okay, you can't use urine. So now the Mishnah said about children blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah stated that, let's say kids, regarding if kids want to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the Mishnah stated you don't stop them from blowing the shofar, which would seem to imply if an adult wants to go ahead and, let's say you already blew the shofar, you finished blowing the shofar. Once you finish blowing the shofar, you're not supposed to just blow the shofar, because blowing the shofar on Yom Tov, on a regular holiday, if on Sukkot I want to blow the shofar, it's a musical instrument. Musical instruments we don't use on Yom Tov. But on Rosh Hashanah, the rabbis never said don't blow shofar. The Torah says blow shofar. So therefore, they didn't say don't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. We blow the shofar. But once you did the mitzvah, you're not supposed to be busy blowing the shofar on morning mark. You don't blow the shofar just to blow, right? You finish blowing. If I want to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, I cannot blow the shofar after I finish blowing. I can't just blow just to blow. Wait till after Rosh Hashanah. I already did the mitzvah. But children, the Mishnah stated, we don't stop them from blowing the shofar. Not only we don't stop them from blowing the shofar, the children want to go ahead and we actually help them. We encourage them. And there's different opinions. Would the adult actually blow the shofar while they're training the child on Rosh Hashanah? Or he could just help them without actually blowing the shofar together with them. But there's some sort of a allowance for children to train the children. That's the reason we want to train the children. So the training of the children is it was so important that the rabbis did not say that you can't blow the shofar. You can't train that. To stop them, tell them don't blow. It's Rosh Hashanah. You already heard. Even if they came to shul, which would seem to be from the Mishnah, they already came to shul. They heard the shofar, but just to train them, that's what it seems like. But to train them, you're allowed to go ahead and train the children on Rosh Hashanah. But the Gemara now it says we don't stop the children. We don't stop the children. But what about women? Anytime, right? During the day, right? If the child wants to blow throughout the day of Rosh Hashanah, we go ahead and we should let them do it and even help them. And by the way, it's a nice present to get for a grandchild, a shofar, or for a child, someone, or anybody, not even grandchild, anybody, to get a shofar. It's nice to encourage the children to learn how to blow, right? Comes in handy sometimes in life. It could be that sometimes there's a person who's not well, who can't come to the synagogue, and that young man could go ahead and go to the house and blow the shofar for him. So it comes in handy. So the Gemara says, or maybe he will be the Baal Tekeyah. Maybe he'll be the one blow the shofar for the community. So the Gemara says, Hanashim. We mentioned that only the children we don't stop from blowing the shofar. Now, the children are, let's say, they're exempt from the mitzvah of shofar. But since after they grow up, they're going to be obligated in the mitzvah of shofar, so we train them when they're young to go ahead and to blow the shofar. What about nashim? But women, the implication is children we don't stop. But women who are never going to be obligated in the midst of shofar, even though the custom is that women come to hear the shofar, right? That's the custom in the Ashkenaz community, I presume in the Sephardi community as well, that the women hear the shofar. Is that a correct statement? The women come to the shofar, they hear the shofar, but it's never going to be a biblical law obligation for a woman to hear a shofar, because it's a rabbinic law, because it's a time-bound mitzvah that the women are exempt. So the women who are never gonna lead to a biblical law, we will stop ma'agvim. We will stop. We will not let the women, if a lady wants to go ahead and blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, from the, for sure, if she wants to practice on Rosh Hashanah, she's not going to be allowed to. Whether she's allowed to blow the shofar, and from the language of the Mishnah, is even not for practicing. The lady, we will stop from blowing the shofar. We will tell her, you don't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. We will have to look more into the halacha regarding women in general blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Obviously, that's not our custom. Women don't blow the shofar. Say it again. But sounds like they can't blow it altogether from the language of the. You see, there are many mitzvot that a lady is patur that she could still do. For instance, she's take the lulav and etrog. She's exempt from the lulav and etrog, but she takes the lulav and etrog. Right? I think she doesn't say a bracha, no bracha, but she takes the lulav. She could take the lulav and etrog, but I said we're going to see more about that. Ashkenazic women not only take the lulav, but they actually have bracha, lulav and etrog. So there are certain mitzvot that the lady is exempt from, but she has a right to do it, and not only she has a right to do it, we encourage her to do it. But here, shofar, from the language of the Mishnah, from the Gemara, is implied that women will not blow the shofar because there's a different issue, because shofar itself, the blowing of a shofar, is like we said, there's a general rabbinic problem, rabbinic law that nobody can blow a shofar on a general Yom Tov. So we, the people, have obligation to blow shofar, allowed to blow the shofar Rosh Hashanah. The children that will one day will have a biblical obligation, so we could train them. But women will not be able to go ahead and blow the shofar. That's what it sounds like from the Gemara saying at this point. So the Gemara is hanashim akvim, but women, the Gemara is saying, are not allowed and not allowed. V'tanya, but the Gemara says we have a braita that the braita says, "Ein makvim lo et nashim lo et tinokim litkol b'yom tov." We don't stop the women from blowing the shofar, or the children from blowing the shofar on Yom Tov, which this implies that a lady could blow the shofar on Yom Tov. This Gemara, in another opinion, we have a machloket. We'll see what the halacha is. But obviously, a lady cannot blow the shofar for a man, because why can't she blow a shofar for a man? Because she's not obligated, and someone who's not obligated cannot cover someone that is obligated. But whether she could blow a shofar for herself, this other bright that says a lady's allowed to blow a shofar for herself. Right, very good. Right. When very good, like Mark said, right. Kiddush on Shabbat, a 12-year-old kid cannot say kiddush for an adult because he's not obligated. Even though he will be obligated when he becomes bar mitzvah, but he's not obligated. He's not obligated now when he's under bar mitzvah, and therefore he cannot say kiddush for an adult. But here the question is, we all know the lady is not obligated in blowing the shofar. That's a given. But the question is she allowed to blow the shofar? If she allowed to blow the shofar on Yom Tov, so that is the question that the Gemara is discussing. And the Gemara says we have two different opinions of whether she's allowed to blow the shofar on Yom Tov. Again, not for a man, just blowing herself. So the Gemara says, Amar Abaye says it is a matter of discussion. Say it again? Or a child. So you see, it's interesting. Right. So she could, right, but Marcus is alluding to is generally, in order for you to do something for someone else, you have to be of equal obligation, or you the one who's doing the active act, have to be more or at least equal, the same. But it could be since a lady there's no obligation of chinuch for that girl, because you don't train the girl in the midst of shofar, because she never has the obligation. But the boy, if the boy is of age where he has an obligation of chinuch, of training, so it could be that the lady is a little less in responsibility than the man. So it could be that the lady would not be able to blow, even if she could do it herself, but she might not be able to blow, for the man, for the child who's obligated to hear. Meaning, there is a concept that when a person has a child that's once they reach a certain age, now what is that age? Might be 9, might be 10. The question is exactly what that age, each mitzvah we learn depending on the type of mitzvah it is. But let's say shofar. There's a certain age that a child has to hear the shofar. Just like there's a certain age that a boy has to sit in the sukkah. There's a certain age that you, as a child, we train the child to do that mitzvah. So that at that point, it could be that it will not be able to go ahead and have that woman, according to this opinion, blow the shofar for that child. So the Gemara says, it's an Omar Abaye. Abaye says lo kasha. It's not a question because Harab Yehuda, Harab Yosef Shimon. Now Rashi says, what is the issue? Rashi understands the Gemara that the issue is Bal Tosif. Meaning the Torah says, don't add to the Torah. What does it mean, don't add? When David goes up this morning, David's going up to do a mitzvah this morning. What's the mitzvah that David's going to be doing? We're all going to be doing mitzvah. He's going to do the mitzvah of Birkat Kohanim. And the Torah says a formula, these are the Kosavarchu. These are the 3 blessings you need to go ahead and say to the Jewish community. If David wants to throw in another bracha on the deal, wants to throw in another bracha, he likes the V'yitein lecha, to throw in another bracha. That's not part of the formula. He is violating a Torah law called Bal Tosif. Don't add to the mitzvah. The Torah gave you this mitzvah. The Torah says this is the formula. Don't change the formula. And don't do 2 either. That's lo tigra. Torah says both in adding and subtracting. Got that, David? Now, so David's been doing a fine job. And Rashi understands that the Gemara is concerned with the women. A lady, if she's exempt from the mitzvah, if she does the mitzvah, she is adding to the Torah. That would be the opinion that says that the lady can't blow. We will stop the women from blowing on Rosh Hashana is because if they're going to blow, they're adding because they're exempt from the mitzvah. So what are you doing? The Torah said you're exempt and you're blowing. That's his opinion. However, the other rabbi's opinion is it's not, even though the women are exempt from the mitzvah, they're not adding to the Torah. But they're not, first of all, they're doing the mitzvah exactly the way the Torah says the mitzvah should be done. And they're not saying they're obligated in the mitzvah. The women are not saying I'm obligated in the mitzvah. That's why I'm doing this mitzvah. The women know they're exempt from the mitzvah, but they're still doing the mitzvah. What do you say? So let's say she's blowing for herself. She knows she's patur. She knows she's exempt from the mitzvah, but the Torah didn't obligate her to do the mitzvah. But if she wants to do the mitzvah, she's not changing the mitzvah. She's doing the mitzvah exactly the way the Torah said to do the mitzvah. So therefore, he says she's allowed to do it. So, very good. So it's qualified as a mitzvah that you're not obligated to do. That a mitzvah that you're not obligated to do, you get credit. You don't get the same level of credit of someone who's obligated to do it, but you get credit for doing it. Therefore, every mitzvah that a woman does, she sits in a sukkah, she gets credit. Sephardi women sit in a sukkah, they don't say a bracha. If they have bread, they won't say a bracha. They take a lulav, they don't say a bracha, but they get credit. They did a mitzvah. They did a mitzvah. What say? Exactly what it's supposed to be. Okay. But I want to tell you, you should know, Rav Moshe, it's a fascinating letter of Rav Moshe Feinstein to Rabbi Kellerman, Zechat Tzadik Levracha, when he was in Boston. And he wanted to know, what is the Jewish opinion, what is the Torah opinion on the women's liberation movement, on the feminist movement? So Rav Moshe Feinstein says, I want to tell you, number one, you should know, the fact that women are exempt from many mitzvot, that doesn't make them less holy. The Torah says everyone has to be holy, refers to both men and women. It says the problem with the movement is, if you say, the problem is, it's not that they know they're exempt, they're doing this mitzvah, they know they're exempt, and they want to do it anyways. They want to say that they're obligated in the mitzvot exactly like the men. That's what they want to say. And that is a distortion of the truth. That's the big problem. You know, when you want to say, when a movement wants to say that men and women are equal in responsibilities, that is against the Torah. That was his problem. It's not that you know you're exempt from the mitzvah, but even though you know you're exempt from the mitzvah, you want to do it anyway because of your love. That's beautiful, just like lulav, just like sukkah. But that's not the case. Being that's not the case, that's not what that movement is pushing, and therefore he says that's the big problem with the movement. We have to tell the women to be proud of their responsibilities, and also he talks about the responsibility for the men to honor the women, to have respect for women. But at the end of the day, everybody got to know their roles, their job. We have different roles, different jobs, and to appreciate, right, and to appreciate your role in life. Have a great day, everybody. We'll have a beautiful
You
crowd
too.
on the scene as well. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.